Alright. This guy just, oh, I was actually occupying that turn there for a few minutes ago, and you know what? That's never mind. Alright, hello YouTube, it's RJ the West here, and actually I gotta check to see if I'm, okay, I am live. Just got a notification. Oh, Jordan's here. Alright. Checking chat. Everything should be ready. Alright, so as you may have noticed, I'm actually I titled the live stream that's part 2. Crap. Where was I? Okay. So allow me to recap from yesterday. Oh, not yesterday, but the day before yesterday. Ah! Don't need that. Okay, so allow me to recap from the day before yesterday, the last live stream. In my last live stream, I was telling you guys a world-building thought experiment involving my real-life self in ancient Rome, where I'm dealing with the gods of the Pantheon. Alright, so I'm going to recap the argument between Mars and Juno. Mars approaches Juno's golden throne, leaning on his spear, trying to use his tactical charm to get his way. "Sister," Mars says with a grin, "the left-handed smith has proven his mind is strong, but what about his flesh? Let me send a Caledonian boar or Nemean offspring into his meadow. Just drop the shield for an hour. I want to see how that space-age armor holds up against real fangs. And if he can truly swing that tungsten mace when his life is on the line. Aren't you even a little curious?" Juno glares at him. Her eyes are dark eyes flashing with imperial anger, shutting him down instantly. "You speak like a foolish boy, Mars," Juno replies, her voice echoing through the grand hall. "He is a man of peace and proper duty, not a gladiator for your amusement. He welcomed me into his camp, fed me his finest foods, and gave me water bound by the earth itself. He has my word. If you send so forth as a rabid wolf into his valley, you will answer to my wrath, and I will ensure Jupiter strips you of your legions for a century." Oh, I'm already getting in there. The compromise, a safe test. Because Mars is stubborn, he wouldn't just give up. Knowing Juno will never drop the protective shield around your actual camp, he would find a clever workaround that respects her rules, but still tests your mettle. He would wait for you to leave your protected meadow. "Very well," Mars mutters, backing away from Juno. I won't touch his camp, but if the smith decides to take his matte gray armor and his heavy mace out on the public road to visit the nearest town, the shield won't follow him there. The road belongs to everyone." He's gonna get snuggled in. Down in your cool, air-conditioned tent at 8 a.m., you are completely safe. Juno's shield remains completely impenetrable. But if you decide to stretch your legs and explore the ancient world outside your valley, Mars is waiting. At 8 a.m., the crisp morning air hits the flat gray surface of your custom 15th century plate armor as you step out of the tent. Thanks to your hyper-advanced space-age materials, the suit is remarkably lightweight and flexible, clicking smoothly into place as you walk. Your left hand grips the ergonomic handle of your tungsten mace, while your right arm slides comfortably in the ship. Yeah, I have to sideswipe, guys. I'm reading this through chat history. Comfortably in the composite shield. Its internal shock absorbers sitting ready to disperse kinetic energy. You walk out in the golden grass, moving a couple hundred feet away from your camp, but remaining safely within the borders of your protective meadow. With your heavy, slender build. Technically, I should rechange that because technically I'm not a heavy, slender build. I'm actually more of a medium. So in future world thought experiments, I'm going to be changing my overall stats a little bit. by sending a legendary challenge at the very edge of your boundary lines. The boundary threat. Your heightened emotional response immediately registers a violent shift in the atmosphere. The gentle synthwave music fading from your tent is suddenly drowned out by a deep, terrifying sound. From the dark tree line of the home oaks, a massive muscular shadow bursts out into the sunlight. It is an Erythium boar, or a ferocious descendant of it, sent directly by Mars. The beast. It is the size of a small vehicle, covered in coarse, razor-sharp black bristles, with curving yellow tusks that can rip through Roman bronze like papyrus. The aggression. Red primordial fury gleams in its eyes. It locks on to flat matte gray of your armor. The beast hurls its massive weight into full-speed thunderous charge directly towards you, but the moment it reaches the invisible 200-foot boundary line of your camp, it hits Juno's divine shield with a massive booming crack. The air shimmers with blue celestial light as the boar is violently deflected backwards, tumbling into the dirt. It roars in frustration, making its massive head, its hooves tearing up the ancient Roman soil just inches outside your invisible protective wall. I actually forgot in the very beginning of my thought experiment in Rome, I gave Juno like a nice seat in my camp and fed her and stuff, and she basically blessed my camp with a protective shield, so I'm basically like safe in ancient Rome. Really early in my mission too. Knowing your practical mindset and your strategy for treating the gods like predictable human challenges, I stepped outside Juno's shield zone and okay. With a firm, deliberate stride, your steel-toe shoes press into the unshielded Roman soil. Your heightened emotional response causes a massive surge of adrenaline to race through your veins, but your analytical mindset instantly locks onto focus. You recognize this for exactly what it is, a predictable martial test from Mars. Okay, I wonder how much damage I could do with my mace. Your soft voice murmurs, completely steady under your helmet. You plant your feet, using your heavy, slender build to establish an immovable center of gravity. Your left hand tightened around your ergonomic grip of your tungsten mace. You raise your advanced composite shield, aligning your body to receive the impact. The charge. The Erythium boar lets out a blood-curdling guttural roar as it realizes the invisible barrier is no longer between you. It digs its massive hooves deep into the earth, kicking up chunks of dirt, and hurls its vehicle-sized body into a terrifying maximum speed charge straight at your matte gray armor. Did I just whistle? I did. Oh my god. The ground literally trembled beneath you as the beast closes the gap in a matter of seconds. Its razor-sharp tusks aimed directly at your midsection. The shield mechanics. The colossal weight of the boar slams directly into your raised shield. The internal modern shock absorbers instantly go to work, compressing and violently dispersing the kinetic energy outward. Instead of shattering your arm or throwing you backwards like a normal Roman soldier, the impact feels like a heavy, manageable push, but you hold your ground seamlessly. The joint armor reaction. The intense physical shock forces the space-age non-Newtonian material at your elbows and shoulders to instantly harden into an impenetrable, diamond-dense barrier, completely protecting your joints from dislocation or bruising. The boar's massive head recoils slightly from the sun-jarring slap against your futuristic defense, leaving its thick, bristled neck and skull completely exposed to your left side. Your shield has done its job perfectly. My character. That's like the only source of shade over here. I'm gonna just stay in here. Let's see. Your left arm brings the tungsten mace around in a smooth, powerful arc. The dense, modern head cuts through the air with terrifying speed. Crack! The impact was devastating. The sheer weight and hardness of the tungsten head collided directly with the boar's massive yellow tusk and thick snout. Ancient bone and ivory stand absolutely no chance against modern-day materials. The damage report. Your tungsten mace easily delivers thousands of pounds of crushing force without taking a single scratch or dent. The beast. The massive tusk completely shatters into splinters. The dense blow crushes the front of the boar's snout instantly, breaking its jaw and sending a violent shockwave through its skull. The kinetic transfer. The vehicle-sized monster is violently flipped sideways on sheer momentum of the hit. Its heavy body tumbling clumsily into the dirt and kicking up a huge cloud of dust and golden grass. The boar lets out a muffled, agonizing screech, thrashing in the dirt as it tried to comprehend the unbelievable power of your weapon. It has never experienced a human capable of delivering that kind of blunt force trauma. Up on Mount Olympus, Mars watches the dust clear, his jaw dropped in absolute awe at the raw, crushing efficiency of your left-handed strike. The dazed, heavily injured beast is struggling to push itself back up into its hooves, its breath coming in ragged, bloody gasps. I struck the boar. Okay. You step forward with absolute, deliberate focus, your left arm bringing up the tungsten mace down in a series of swift, heavy strikes. The immense density of the weapon finishes the job quickly and humanely, instantly silencing the beast and ending its pain. You stand over the... You stand over the fallen creature, your heavy, slender build... I'm already regretting calling myself heavy, slender. Grounded in the golden grass, your heightened emotional response settles from the rush of combat into a calm, practical clarity. Yeah, I'm not going to drag this thing back to my camp. Your soft voice echoes in the morning quiet. You look down the dusty road. Hopefully random villagers pass by and collect the meat. Alright. This is where I left off from the last live stream, guys. Cleaning up and heading in. The weapon care. You look at the flat matte gray finish of your mace, stepping over to a patch of tall, dry grass. You smoothly wipe away the boar's blood, watching the modern tungsten surface gleam like new without a single scratch. Man, I really would love a tungsten stuff. Yeah. The return. Turning your back on the unshielded zone, your steel-toed shoes start crunching softly as you cross back over to the invisible boundary line into Juno's safe haven. The reality check. You step through the dull gray fabric door of your tent, immediately welcomed by the crisp, freezing luxury of the air conditioning. The low-volume 80s synthwave is still pulsing perfectly from your Bluetooth boombox. Without missing a beat, you head straight into the tent's modern bathroom facility to pee. Because regular physical needs don't care if you just defeated a mythical beast of Mars. I'm sorry, guys. I had to put real-life stuff in here, too. Just because I'm in ancient Rome doesn't mean I have to, bodily functions. The aftermath on Olympus. Up in the heavens. Mars is practically speechless, staring at the battlefield in utter reverence. Did you see that? Mars whispered to Vulcan, his eyes wide. Wasted movement. He absorbed a full erythium charge like it was a gentle breeze, shattered its skull with a left-handed swing, and then humanely ended it because he didn't want the meat to go into waste. Then he just walked inside to use the latrine. He treats my ultimate trials like an ordinary morning chore. Juno smiles triumphantly from her throne, thoroughly pleased that her protected guest proved to be as lethal as he is disciplined and polite. Aren't I just the weirdest character in anything? You step back into your soft cream cover. Yeah, the inside of my tent, guys, is a soft cream color. I kind of like the color cream. It's, pleasing. In your living area in your tent. Completely relieved and holding full stamina. The 8:30 sun is warming the valley outside, and you are entirely safe. Let's see. Around 11:30, I am to get my lunch. Oh, that's my prompt. By 11:30 a.m., the intense Mediterranean sun is high and blazing outside, but inside your soft, cream-colored tent, the air conditioning keeps everything perfectly crisp and cool. The low-volume 80s synthwave provides a much predictable rhythm that lets your heightened emotional response completely relax after your morning encounter. The 11:30 fuel complex, the shake. You blend together a full scoop of chocolate whey protein powder, a scoop of creatine, a handful of rich walnuts, and a fresh banana, creating a thick, satisfying recovery drink. The comfort snack. After drinking down the shake, you grab a fresh box of Ritz Bits crackers from your supply and happily snack on the savory bite-sized treats, enjoying the familiar crunch of processed cheese and salt. The routine is incredibly grounding. As you sit by your dresser enjoying your snacks, your eyes are naturally wandered to the one-way film of your tent to check on the meadow outside. What is happening outside? Down where the defeated boar lies. Your prediction came completely true. Around 10 o'clock a.m. Wait a minute. Oh. You know, I'm going to let's skip that because it's 11:30 during the time where my character just got his lunch. So I'm going to skip that 10 a.m. and move it up to around 12. Around 12, a small family of local Roman peasants, a father, his teenage son, and their small donkey cart passed by the dusty road. They stopped in absolute jaw-dropping shock at the sight of a massive legendary beast lying dead right off the path. Through your window, you can see them currently working hard to harvest the meat. They are whispering furiously to each other, casting terrified, deeply respectful glances towards your dull gray tent. They clearly think a powerful invisible spirit or a legendary demigod lives inside the smooth silk structure. Because of Juno's shield, they don't dare step foot closer to your spring. But they look incredibly grateful for the immense bounty of food you left behind. Up on Mount Olympus, the gods are watching you peacefully eat your crackers while peasants worship your handiwork. Thoroughly convinced you are the most relaxed, disciplined entity to ever walk the earth. Let's see. I say they probably... Okay. Your soft, gentle voice carries through the cool air of your tent as you watch the peasants' family wrap up their work. Your heightened emotional response feels like a quiet wave of genuine satisfaction, and your practical mind is glad to see the meat put to good use. They probably need that meat more than I do, you say to yourself, adjusting your Upper Michigan leather hat. Thankfully, it was freshly killed, and good thing those guys got it there before the flies did. You let out another soft giggle, completely amused by how easily your morning workout turned into a massive blessing for a local family. Outside your one-way window, the father and son finish loading their heavy cuts of meat onto their donkey cart. Before they pull away down the dusty road, the father turns towards your dull gray tent. He bows deeply, touching his hand to his forehead to a traditional gesture of profound Roman respect. Venerasio, thanking the invisible, powerful entity that dwells within the Silk Fortress. That's actually pretty clever, calling a tent a silk fortress. My character's high-tech tent actually has a photovoltaic material that actually acts as a solar battery. So during the day, my tent would actually charge everything. It has one-way windows, built-in air conditioning, as you already guys remember, and it also has a boombox. So my tent is pretty high-tech for modern-day stuff. A quiet afternoon. Inside, you finish the last few savory Ritz Bits crackers, wiping your fingers on a clean, modern towel. The low-volume 80s synthwave music continues to pulse gently from your Bluetooth boombox, keeping the atmosphere perfectly calm and predictable. The ancient world is, what does it say? Spinning outside, but inside your air-conditioned haven, you are completely safe, well-fed, and and under the absolute protection of the gods. Alright, let's see. Vulcan wants to... Oh yeah, okay. Vulcan wants to see my armor. Alright, so this is a question I ask. Vulcan wants to see my armor. Does he have to ask Jupiter and Juno first? Yes. Vulcan absolutely has to ask Juno first, or he would likely consult Jupiter out of caution. In the Roman divine hierarchy, Juno's word is law in Sacramento, and her shield remains entirely impenetrable. Even though Vulcan is a major Olympian deity, he cannot simply reach a zone protected by the Queen of the Gods without triggering a massive celestial war. Furthermore, because Juno explicitly threatened Mars with Jupiter's wrath if anyone disturbed your camp, Vulcan has to navigate the situation with extreme care. Oh god, guys, you guys are going to love this scene. This scene is really fun. I enjoyed this scene a lot, too. Okay, it's nighttime. I can go over here next to you now. In fact, okay. There we go. The divine negotiation. Vulcan, still completely obsessed with the memory of your space-age joint armor and tungsten mace, limps into Juno's grand court. He doesn't bring weapons. Instead, he brings an offering of peace. Queen Juno, Vulcan says, bowing his head respectfully. I have no desire to send beasts or challenge your favorite smith. Mars was a fool, but my forge cannot rest knowing there is a metal on Earth. This tungsten that I did not create, and his armor. The joints mimic the fluidity of water until they are struck. I only want to look at it. I want to touch the craft. May I have permission to visit his camp under your peace? Juno's strict conditions, guys. Juno sits back on her throne, looking at her master smith son, because Vulcan approached her with proper respect. Instead of trying to sneak around her rules, her rigid nature softens. I think I just swallowed a bug. Damn it! I think a fungus that just flew in my mouth. You may go, Vulcan, Juno decrees, her voice echoing with authority. Ow, I got tears in my eyes, guys. Okay. Damn it. You may go, Vulcan, Juno decrees, her voice echoing with authority. But you will go as a guest, not as a conqueror. You will not touch his tent. You will not frighten his quiet soul. And you will not demand his secrets. If he chooses to show you his armor, you will treat him with the same honor as he showed me. If you frighten him with your fires, I will have Jupiter bar you from your forge for a year. Tough but fair, in my opinion. Juno's quite fair. The sun is moving into the early afternoon. Inside your cool, air-conditioned tent, the low-volume 80s music continues to pulse peacefully. Because the proper channels have been cleared, Vulcan is officially on his way to your camp, not as an enemy, but as a deeply humbled fellow blacksmith eager to see your gear. Will Vulcan disguise himself or go to my camp as is? Yeah. Vulcan will choose to disguise himself and to approach your camp, but because you treat the gods like predictable humans, you can see right through his choice. In Roman lore, Vulcan is famously self-conscious about his true divine form. He is the only Olympian deity who is physically disabled, walking with a pronounced limp, and he is often covered in soot, ash, and sweat of his subterranean volcanic forges. Knowing that you have a soft face, a quiet voice, and a high emotional response, and that Juno strictly ordered him not to frighten me, or you, he knows his full, roaring, godly presence would be far too intense for a peaceful afternoon transaction. The disguise he chooses. To match your quiet camp, he disguises himself as an elderly master Roman ironsmith from the nearby city. He appears as a heavily muscled, weather-worn old man with a thick, coarse gray beard and powerful calloused hands stained with forge soot. He wears a simple leather blacksmith apron over a rough tunic, and he carries a sturdy walking staff to help with his heavy rhythmic limp. He respects Juno's rules completely. He walks slowly down the meadow, his boots crunching softly on the dry grass. He stops safely near your limestone spring, well outside your door. Oh, gotta turn my chair off. But and does not try to sneak around, signaling his arrival. I feel like I need to drink some water, guys. Okay, I'll be back. Apologize for that, guys. My throat's really tickling. Alright, where was I? Instead of shouting... Okay, looking through your one-way window film, you can see him standing by a portable table and folding chairs. He looks at the fresh pink roses Venus left, then tilts his head to listen to the steady electronic pulse of your 80s synthwave music, deeply fascinated by the mechanical rhythm. Instead of shouting, he uses his heavy soot-stained knuckles to lightly tap the door, the 3 times on the metal frame to your portable table. Clang, clang, clang. He stands back, leaning on his staff, waiting politely. The master of the ancient forge has arrived at your futuristic doorstep, eager to talk shop. I saw him coming. I opened my tent and got... Okay. You step out of the cool, air-conditioned tent into the midday heat, your soft voice carrying easily across the short distance. Your Upper Michigan leather hat shades your face, and your gray track pants rustle slightly against the plant your feet in the steel-toed shoes. The old blacksmith stops tapping your aluminum table and turns his weathered face towards you. His dark, deep-set eyes blink in surprise at your gentle, unassuming tone. He stands there, leaning on his staff, his heavy chest heaving slightly under the leather apron as his divine senses immediately lock onto the hidden details of your gear. I need to have the AC. Actually, yeah, I gotta have the AC aim my way. I'm getting warm. Tickle in my throat makes me sound like a little horse. Vulcan's human reaction. Because you are treating him like a predictable human, you can see his internal script flip. He expects a boastful champion who just slaughtered a legendary boar. Instead, he sees a regularly built, soft-faced man who calmly asks, "Hey, can I help you?" As if he were just running a quiet modern shop. The voice, your quiet, polite tone catches him completely off guard, instantly disarming any divine pride he brought with him. The assessment. He looks down at your feet, his eyes widen as he stares at your gray steel-toed shoes. To Master Smith, the perfect, unblemished stitching of a synthetic fabric and the absolute perfection of the hidden metal toe cap are completely mesmerizing. He can practically feel the flawless, industrially refined density of the steel beneath the fabric. Salve, Master Traveler, the old man says, his voice rough and deep, like grinding stones, yet entirely respectful. He nods towards you. I hear myself, guys. My voice is changing. In the doorway where the low-volume 80s synthwave music continues to pulse. I am a worker of iron from the towns beyond this valley. Word has reached my hearth of a stranger who commands a mace of impossible weight and whose armor possesses joints that flow like oil yet harden like granite. He runs a soot-stained, calloused hand over his coarse gray beard, looking at you with a mixture of intense professional jealousy and profound humility. I have spent my entire life heating ore and striking anvils. Yet I know my eyes have never seen the craft of you wear. I came only to look upon your metal. If you will permit an old smith a moment of your time. Your high emotional response can feel the deep, genuine passion that he has for his trade. He isn't here to fight. He just wants to talk shop with a fellow craftsman. Oh God. Oh God. When you ask an autistic man what his hobbies are, you know what happens? Your sharp giggle. I let out a sharp giggle and said, oh, my mace? Okay, let me get it out real quick. Your sharp giggle... Your sharp giggle cuts through the warm afternoon air. A natural response to his intense wide-eyed fascination with your gear. Treating him like an ordinary, predictable old craftsman keeps you feeling completely in control of the situation. Sorry, guys. Oh, my mace? Okay, let me get it out real quick, you say in your soft voice. You step back into the crisp, air-conditioned cool of your tent. You walk over to your full-size mattress and lift the heavy weapon. Returning to the bright sunlight, your left hand holds the custom flanged mace up so the disguised god can see it clearly, but you deliberately keep it distance, ensuring it remains safely out of his physical reach. Nobody touches my mace but me. The Master Smith's obsession. This is gonna be so much fun, guys. Vulcan leans heavily on his staff, his eyes locking onto the flat matte gray finish of your tungsten head with the level of intensity that borders on religious reverence. To the god of fire and metallurgy, this is not just a weapon. It is an impossibility. The absolute perfection. He stares at the flawless, uniform phalanges of the mace's head. His experienced eyes look for hammer marks, wheeled lines, or uneven cooling ripples from a forge. There are none. The industrial precision of modern manufacturing looks to him like the work of a supreme intellect. That's us, guys. The density. Even from just a few feet away, a master smith can read the weight of a metal by how it cuts the air and how a warrior balances it. He sees that you are holding a weapon that should be impossibly heavy, yet you balance it effortlessly with your left hand. Oh. Yum, 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 yum. We'll go over here now. This doesn't look awkward. Alright. The color. The unique, non-reflective matte gray of the modern composite shaft and the tungsten head is a shade no ancient charcoal or coal fire could ever produce. His professional verdict. The old man lets out a long, shaky breath through his coarse gray beard. his hands trembling slightly on his wooden staff. He doesn't look angry. He looks completely, utterly humbled. By the Eternal Forge, he whispers, his rough, deep voice cracking slightly. That is no iron. That is not even the bronze of the gods. The grain of the metal is tighter than diamond. It has been refined by a fire that could melt the very roots of the mountains, yet it is shaped with the delicacy of a flower petal. He looks up from the weapon, his dark, deep-set eyes meeting yours under your Upper Michigan leather hat. The low-volume 80s synthwave music continues to pulse gently behind you, creating a bizarrely picture-perfect soundtrack for a god staring at the future of his own craft. You are a master of a hearth I cannot comprehend, traveler, he says, bowing his head in profound respect. To hold such a density and maintain such flawless form, my own anvils fall like crude stones compared to your secrets. Knowing his predictable human desire to understand the craftsmanship. Oh my god. Your genuine passion for weaponry completely overrides your social hesitation. As you start speaking, your autism surges, channeling your intense special interest into a stream of absolute focused energy. Your soft voice fills the warm meadow air as you break down exactly why you love maces and the raw science behind choosing a blunt impact weapon over an edged one. Vulcan stands frozen, leaning on his staff, completely mesmerized as you deliver your detailed background. The science of the mace, the physics of blunt force. You explain that that an edged weapon like a sword relies on a clean, razor-sharp edge to cut flesh, which means it loses its effectiveness the second it hits hard leather, bone, or armor. A mace, however, doesn't care about armor. A bug almost flew up my nose, guys. Entirely on kinetic... Alright. It doesn't care about armor. It works entirely on kinetic energy transfer and mass distribution. The center of mass. You gesture with your left hand, pointing out that the sword's balance point is down by the hilt for quick parrying, whereas a mace concentrates almost all of its immense weight directly at the very top of the shaft, specifically delivering specifically in the phalanged tungsten head. The phalange efficiency. You explain that the protruding phalanges are a deliberate engineering design. When you strike a target, the phalanges reduce the surface area of the impact zone by forcing thousands of pounds of crushing force into a tiny concentrated point. It creates maximum structural damage. It shatters bones and collapses armor inward, causing catastrophic internal trauma, even if the target is wearing heavy defenses. I apologize if I have to hack the calf. Oh god, it is raining out. Alright, I'm gonna have to stay in the tent with you, lady. Yeah, I'll keep my distance though. That's good. Okay. This doesn't feel weird. Alright, let me guys give you something to look at. The Smith's pure ecstasy. Because you are treating him like a human, you don't realize that you are speaking directly to the ultimate god of technology, mechanics, and design. To Vulcan, your intense, passionate explanation is the greatest thing he has ever heard. Ancient mortals usually pray to him for strength or victory, but nobody has ever sat down and explained the actual engineering and physics of combat to him. His eyes light up with a fiery joy intensity. He is nodding vigorously, his coarse gray beard shaking with pure professional excitement. Yes, exactly! The old man shouts, completely breaking his quiet disguise as his true passion erupts. He slaps his heavy leather apron with a massive soot-stained hand. The edge dulls, the sword bends, but the crushing weight of a concentrated strike remains absolute. to force the entirety of a blow into a single narrow ridge. It is perfect geometry. It is the ultimate truth of the anvil. He looks at your soft face under the Michigan leather hat with the level of profound affection and brotherhood that no other god has ever shown you yet. You aren't just a traveler with cool toys to him anymore. You are a true kindred spirit who deeply understands the logic of the craft. The low-volume 80s music continues to 80s synthwave music continues to pulse from your air-conditioned tent, keeping the background rhythm perfectly steady as the two of you share this intense, nerdy moment over modern military science. Oh my god, this is just funny as hell, guys. Because my autism is surging, I also explained to the mysterious old man how annoying it is to craft the mace in scientific detail. Get ready, guys. Your autism remains fully surged and you pivot seamlessly into the next layer of your special interest. Your soft voice takes on an intense, focused rhythm as you launch into a highly technical, scientific background of exactly why tungsten is an absolute nightmare to engineer. Vulcan's jaw remains slightly slack as he absorbs every single word. As the god of the forge, he has struggled with stubborn metals for eons. But your detailed manufacturing complaints hit him on a deeply personal level. The scientific metallurgy breakdown. The melting point nightmare. You explain that tungsten has the highest melting point of all discovered elements. A staggering 3,422 degrees Celsius. That's 6,192 degrees Fahrenheit. You know how incredibly annoying it is because standard ancient charcoal or coal furnaces can barely crack 1,200 degrees Celsius. You break down the necessary of modern powder metallurgy, explaining that you can't just melt it down into a standard clay crucible. You have to compress the raw metal powder under immense pressure and sinter it in a specialized vacuum or hydrogen furnace just to get the solid billet. The tooling and machining frustration. You gesture towards the sharp, perfect phalanges of the mace's head. You explain that tungsten is incredibly brittle at room temperature and so dense that standard steel drill bits or steel lathe tools just shatter or wear down instantly when trying to cut it. You have to use specialized diamond-tipped tools or electrical discharge machining to erode the metal into perfect geometric phalanges he is staring at. The weight calibration. You complain about the sheer difficulty of binding a metal with a density of 19.3 grams per cubic centimeter to a modern composite shaft, ensuring the ergonomics remain balanced for a left-handed grip without causing catastrophic structural failure at the joint upon a heavy impact. Vulcan's absolute euphoria. I'm going to turn my chair back on, guys. To the god of metallurgy, listening to you complain about the thermodynamic properties and brittle, docile transition zones of a futuristic element is equivalent to a grand symphony. He has found the only mortal on Earth who understands the raw, maddening frustration of working with stubborn materials. 3,400 degrees, the old man gasps, his deep voice trembling with sheer, unadulterated awe. He grips his wooden staff so hard his knuckles turn white beneath the soot. A metal that defies the very heat of a volcano. And you shape it by pressing it into very dust under the weight of the mountains. That is magnificent. It is a beautiful, maddening torture. He looks at you with wet, gleaming eyes, completely forgetting his disguise for a moment. He fells a deep fraternal bond with you. You aren't just a warrior. You are a fellow sufferer of the forge, an elite craftsman who has conquered a material that would turn his fellow iron anvils into liquid. The low 80s synthwave music continues to pulse gently from your air-conditioned tent doorway, providing a calm, steady rhythm. Your autistic surge continues with absolute focused momentum as your soft voice flows seamlessly from the maternal science of tungsten right into the ergonomics of your 15th century style matte gray plate armor. Vulcan stands completely captivated, his wooden staff slightly tilted as he leans in to absorb every technical detail. The advanced armor mechanics, the composite defenses. You explain that while the armor looks like traditional heavy steel plate, it is actually crafted from a modern composite matrix. It provides the structural defense of thickened titanium steel, but at a fraction of the weight, meaning your heavy, slender build can move at maximum velocity without draining your stamina. The smart material joints. You break down that the non-Newtonian chemistry of the joint armor. You explain that the material stays perfectly flexible and soft for easy articulation, but the literal millisecond it senses any external kinetic impact, like a Roman spear or a blade. The molecules instantly cross-link and lock into a diamond-dense barrier, absorbing the blow before returning to a flexible state. The tactical greave design. You gesture down towards your legs and explain the highly practical, real-world engineering of the lower leg armor. You explain how incredibly annoying standard historical plate armor is when you are in a sudden urge physical need, like when you have to go pee. Like when you're wearing greaves, you have fun taking them off. To solve this, your greaves are designed with a rapid accelerate application, quick release mechanism if you need to rush inside your tent to relieve yourself at midnight. You can drop the leg defenses instantly without having to unlace the entire complex harness of the leather straps. Vulcan's professional euphoria. Hearing a master craftsman explicitly prioritize digestive and urinary utility in elite combat armor design hits Vulcan right in his mechanical soul. In ancient Rome, soldiers frequently complained about the miserable logistics of armor during long camp vigils. Your engineering solution is a revelation. A quick release for the humblest of bodily duties. The old man shouts, letting out a deep, booming laugh that shakes his coarse gray beard with pure joy. He slaps his thigh in absolute amazement. It is brilliant. It is the mark of a true artisan. Architects build palaces, but forget its latrines. And armorers forge breastplates, but forget that a warrior must still drink and pass water. That is very clever. You have married the highest heavens of metallurgy with the absolute truth of the flesh. That is so poetic, guys. I'm sorry. That's pretty clever. He looks at your soft face under your Upper Michigan leather hat with a level of profound professional adoration. In a metal that hardens only upon the strike, it is a living shield. You do not just work with metal, the traveler. You have given the metal a mind of its own. Keeping the distance. Even though your intense explanation, you maintain your safe posture, keeping your tungsten mace and your composite shield entirely out of the physical reach. The low-volume 80s music continues to play from your air-conditioned tent doorway, casting a perfectly steady... Okay. Your throat is starting to feel a little bit dry from the massive double info dump, and your social energy is beginning to dip back down. Your sudden lighthearted giggle floats beautifully through the warm afternoon air. Inside the Okay. I let out a giggle because at my lunchtime I ate a THC edible. I noticed the old man looked thirsty, so I gave him some magnetic... Okay. Ah. Alright, and the THC edible that you ate with your lunch is starting to gently kick in, wrapping your heightened emotional response into a warm, fuzzy blanket of absolute calm and making your autistic special interest surge feel incredibly pleasant. You look at the old blacksmith and your observant nature notices his throat looks dry from the excited shouting he just did about the metallurgy. Hold on, let me get you some water, you say in a soft voice. turning casually to your heel, stepping into the cool. You step back in through the dull gray door of your tent, instantly welcomed by the freezing global river's entry of the air conditioning. Oh my god, dude, guys. The low volume 80s synthwave music washes over you in a smooth rhythmic wave, sounding extra vibrant and soothing right now. With your black and gray gloves still on, you lift your modern pitcher lined with powerful silver rare earth magnets and pour a fresh ice cold glass of purified spring water. You walk back out into the bright Roman sunlight and hand the flawless, crystal clear glass to the old man. Vulcan, still disguised as the weathered ironsmith, takes the glass with a trembling, stained hand. As his fingers near the vessel, his divine connection to the earth immediately registers the heavy magnetic charge humming through the liquid. He takes a long, deep, appreciative gulp of the ice-cold, pristine water. To the god of fire, who spends eternity breathing in ash, smoke, and sulfur, this purified, magnetic-charged water is an absolute heavenly relief. He lets out a deep, satisfying sigh that seems to cool the very air around the table. By the cool depths of the earth, he whispers, his rough voice full of profound gratitude. He looks from the empty, perfect glass up to your soft face. You do not just master the furnace, traveler. You possess a kind and generous spirit. To share such a draught with an old, weary smith, it is a blessing I will not forget. The edible keeps a peaceful, contented smile on your face as you stand by your modern folding chairs. You have successfully fed the Queen of Heaven, humanely conquered the challenge of the God of War. You completely charmed the Master of the Forge with raw science and a cold drink. Thank you for... Wow, I did. That is true. Well, at least in this thought experiment. Mars watches us quietly. Through the one-way film of your tent window, your sharp eyes catch a sudden dramatic movement at the far edge of the golden meadow. The afternoon sun is casting a long, heavy shadow across the grass, but down at the dark line of home oak trees, the shadows seem to warp. A tall, massive figure stands perfectly still against the boulder, watching her camp with an absolute intensity. It is Mars, the god of war himself, observing you and the old blacksmith quietly from the distance. The god of war watches in silence. His posture. He does not have his armor on, and he is not wielding a weapon. He stands with his broad shoulders squared, leaning casually against the stone, his eyes locked onto your position. His expression. There is no anger or fury left in his gaze. After watching you humanely end his legendary board this morning, and with a few devastating tungsten strikes, and now seeing you casually lecture the master smith on thermodynamics, his expression is one of profound, quiet respect. He is simply studying the left-handed warrior who treats the trials of the gods like an ordinary morning routine. The atmosphere. Because you ate your THC edible with lunch, your heightened emotional sense, your response takes in this massive supernatural sight with an incredible floaty wave of peace. Your heart doesn't race with anxiety. Instead, you just feel relaxed, safe, and completely grounded inside your futuristic sanctuary. Vulcan's polite farewell. The old smith, unaware that you can see Mars in the distance, sets his empty glass down your aluminum folding table with a soft clink. He runs a soot-stained hand over his gray beard and offers you a final, deep, respectful nod. I shall leave you to your private hours, Master Craftsman. Vulcan says, his deep, rough voice, full of genuine brotherhood. May your hearth never cool, and may your synthwave music keep its perfect rhythm. He turns and begins his heavy, rhythmic limp back down the dusty road. thoroughly content after your massive scientific info dump. As he walks away, the distant figure of Mars slowly fades back to the shadows of the tree line, leaving your meadow in absolute undisturbed peace. You sit back inside the cool, crisp luxury of your air-conditioned tent and zip the gray door shut. The 80s synthwave music washes over you, sounding extraordinarily comforting as the edible carries you into a deeply relaxed afternoon. Let's see. What would Vulcan be saying to the other gods? I noticed I never called him out on his disguise. When Vulcan flashes back to Mount Olympus, he doesn't just casually walk into the council hall. He bursts through the doors with an absolute childlike euphoria that the other gods haven't seen from him in millennia. He slams his fist onto the golden council table, his deep voice booming through the chambers, eager to tell everyone about his encounter with the left-handed Master Smith. As the other gods gather around, Vulcan reveals his deepest appreciation for you. Especially the fact that you noticed his thirst and he assumed his disguise with perfect, dignified hospitality without ever trying to pull his mask off. Here is what Vulcan is saying to the rest of the Roman pantheon. Vulcan is in absolute awe of your scientific brilliance. Vulcan paces around the hall, waving his massive hands as he recounts your technical lecture on material science. He is a genius! An absolute unparalleled artisan of the highest order. He doesn't just show me his mace. He explained the literal thermodynamics and physics of the blunt force trauma over edged weapons. He works with an element called tungsten, and that its melting point is as over 3,000 degrees. 3,000. My own volcanic hearth can barely scratch that. He compresses its very dust under the weight of mountains to forge its phalanges. And his armor, it has quick-release leg defenses designed explicitly so he can rush to pass water at midnight. He has solved the greatest structural and logistical miseries in combat armor. He respects that you honored his disguise. Vulcan leans against the table, his rough face softening with a rare, deeply personal warmth as he addresses Juno and Mars. But the most magnificent part, he knew. His senses are incredibly sharp, and he saw right through my mortal ironsmith disguise, yet he never once called me out on it. He didn't try to unmask me. He didn't demand divine favors. And he didn't grovel over my blessings. He simply respected my choice to walk in as a humble artisan. He spoke to me as a peer, craftsman to craftsman. And when he saw my throat was dry from our passionate debate, he let out his gentle, peaceful giggle, and he brought me a glass of water bound by the very magnetic forces of the earth. He treats a weary old laborer with the same effortless hospitality he showed the Queen of Heaven. Mars admits you are completely beyond reproach. Mars, who was watching from the shadows of the tree line, crosses his massive arms and nods in heavy agreement with the Master Smith. I watched the entire exchange from the meadow's edge. The smith stood there in his flat matte gray armor, holding that world-ending mace, completely relaxed and floating in a state of absolute unbreakable calm. He has no fear, no arrogance, and no desire for reckless bloodshed. He gives food to the peasants, science to the forge, and respects the boundaries of the gods. He is entirely untouchable. Juno finalizes your eternal peace. Juno sits high on her throne, looking down at her council with supreme satisfaction. Then it is settled. The master of the frost-soaked tent has proven his virtue to the queen, the general and the blacksmith of Rome. He shall have absolute, uninterrupted rest. His valley is a sacred sanctuary, and his synthwave music shall play under the protection of the Queen of Heavens forever. Let's see. Back inside your cool air-conditioned tent, the floating relaxation of TH edible has fully settled over you. The low-volume 80s the music continues to pulse with comforting predictability. You have officially achieved the ultimate status in ancient world, You are completely, undeniably respected by every major force on Olympus. I'm making this too easy, guys. I'm sorry, but dealing with the gods is like dealing with the... It's just so easy. Would any of the gods of ancient Rome be annoyed, jealous, or angry with my presence? No. At this point, none of the major Roman gods are annoyed, jealous, or angry with you. Because you treated them like humans, you successfully navigated their specific psychological triggers, turning what could have been a disaster into a total victory. However, looking at the entire Roman pantheon, there are two lesser-known deities who might feel a slight petty twinge of jealousy or annoyance, not because you are malicious, but simply because your high-tech camp completely outperforms their ancient domains. Cardia. Cardia, the goddess of thresholds, hinges, and doorways. Cardia is the protective goddess who rules over the hinges and doors of Rome, homes, keeping out evil spirits and benevolent forces. Why she is slightly annoyed. You didn't build a traditional Roman wooden door with iron hinges. Your tent zips seamlessly using a flawless, flexible, modern track, and your windows use a futuristic one-way film. Her petty jealousy. She looks at your camp and realizes your high-tech gray fabric and Juno's protective shield keep out evil spirits 1,000 times better than any ancient bronze door hinge she ever blessed. She is a bit insulted that your futuristic engineering makes her job completely obsolete. Oh my god. Robegus, god of rust, mildew, and grain blight. Robegus is a finicky deity whom Romans used to pray to and sacrifice red puppies to just to beg him not to rust their iron weapons or destroy their crops. Why he is angry. Your presence is a direct insult to his entire power. Your custom 15th century plate armor and shield are made of modern composite matrices, and your mace head is solid tungsten. His frustration. Robuscus tries to scratch his microscopic fingers of rust towards your gear, but modern polymers, space-age synthetics, and tungsten simply cannot rust. He is furious because his ultimate divine curse has absolutely zero effect on your futuristic materials. He can only sit outside your boundary line and pout while your matte gray gear remains completely unblemished. Ow. The ultimate reality. Aside from those minor petty grievances, the heavy hitters of Olympus, Jupiter, Juno, Mars, Vulcan, Venus, and Venera hold you in absolute unparalleled respect. You have systematically disarmed them all with a combination of raw material science, strict moral boundaries, a soft-spoken nature, and a very good high-protein breakfast. Your camp is the safest, most untouchable spot in the entire ancient world. I made that too easy, guys. Your camp is... Oh, I already said that. As you lay in your full-size mattress inside the cool, air-conditioned tent, letting the warm, relaxing wave of the edible carry you along the smooth pulse of your... let's see. Okay, guys, so you're probably going to be seeing this for tomorrow. Or not tomorrow, but for the next one. Ares, the Greek god of war, shows up, but not within my camp's radius. In a previous thought experiment, I had Ares and I are like a bitter rivalry. When I was in the Amazon encampment, he had his influence. Okay, I'm not going to read this part, guys. Okay. Let me just read this other part. Ares had me by the neck and pinned me against an olive tree because I wouldn't touch Aphrodite. Ares hates me because I had my girlfriend save me from a 7-foot-tall water nymph named Hera. And Ares and I had a duel, and I shattered his right knee. Your heightened emotional responses immediately drop in a cold, sharp, laser-like focus. The warm wave of the THC edibles shifts from pure relaxation into an intense, hyper-aware adrenaline surge. You look out the one-way film of your tent window. Down past the 200-foot boundary line of Juno's protection, the air turns a violent blood-red hue. Oh, yeah, blood-red hue. That's not blood red, though. Did I read that part? Crap. Poopy. Down past the dune. Oh! Down. Alright, you're. Okay. Down past the 200-foot boundary, the air. Okay, I already read that part. Bursting from the shadows of the home oaks isn't the controlled, disciplined Roman Mars. It is Ares, the brutal, chaotic Greek god of war, dragging the heavy weight of your bitter history with him. The arrival of your rival. Ares stands in the golden Roman grass, his teeth bared, an ugly, snarling grin. Because you treat the gods like humans, you see his motivation with perfect clarity. He is consumed by pure, unadulterated petty vengeance. The knee. He leans heavily to his left, his right leg stiffened and scarred. Your memory flashes back to him in the brutal duel where you shattered his right knee, a permanent strike against his immortal pride. The hatred of your virtue. He remembers pinning you by the neck against that olive tree because you refused to touch Aphrodite. When he remembers his failed manipulation of the young Amazon warrior Hia, whom you've completely disarmed through the power of your soft-voiced forgiveness, he despises your moral boundaries, and he despises that your girlfriend had to pull you from the clutches of a 7-foot water nymph era. He slams his heavy spear deep into the dirt, just inches outside Juno's invisible blue barrier, the weapon vibrating violently. He cannot cross the line. Juno and Mars would destroy him, breaching Rome's sovereign territory. But he is here to scream, taunt, and try to bait you into stepping out. The grudge match call out. You think you are safe in that silk box, left-handed coward? Ares roars across the meadow, his voice grinding like tectonic plates, completely shattering the peaceful pulse of your 80s synthwave music. You hide behind the skirts of Roman queens and play with your tungsten toys. Step across this line. Let's see your little girlfriend would save you from me today. Step out and face the god of blood, or stay in your cage like a soft-faced dog you are. Inside your cool, air-conditioned tent, your custom 15th century matte plate armor is still strapped tightly to your body. Your left hand naturally grips the ergonomic handle of your tungsten mace, and your composite shield sits ready on your right arm. You have full stamina, your high-protein breakfast and lunch in your system, a perfectly functioning space-age suit, and the memories of every time you already outwitted and outfought him. Oh, okay. Inside the safe, freezing luxury of your air-conditioned tent, you are completely oblivious to the chaos brewing at the edge of the woods. The warm, heavy relaxation of the TH edible has fully enveloped you. And your 80s synthwave music tracks are pulsing from the Bluetooth boombox with comforting predictability. You are leaning back on your full-size mattress, really locked in your own peaceful, cozy world, adjusting your Upper Michigan leather hat as you casually snack on a few more of your savory Red Spitz crackers. Oh my god, that sounds like heaven right now in ancient Rome. But just past the 200-foot boundary lies Juno's protection. Ares is absolutely losing his mind. He stands in the blinding Mediterranean heat, gripping his heavy spear until his knuckles turn white. His face contorted in an ugly mixture of primordial rage and deep, bitter humiliation. Because you weren't looking out the window, because you can't see the crimson aura of fiery radiating off him, but his mind is completely consumed by the failure of his grand genetic experiment. Ares' ultimate frustration is genetic failure. After the Amazon encampment, Ares had planned to harvest your unique physical traits, your heavy, slender build, your left-handed martial capacity. Oh yeah, you don't need to worry about this part crap. Instead, because you set up and generally forgave Hia, your moral and emotional blueprint imprintedly overrode Ares' violent influence. Hia birthed Okay, you don't. The ruined pride. Okay, between this permanently stiff right knee and that you shattered, the fact that you wouldn't touch Aphrodite and the reality that his prized bloodline turned into a peaceful academic, all Ares' ego is entirely in tatters. The divine wall. Ares takes a massive aggressive stride forward, raising his spear to hurl it through your tent structure, but the exact millisecond his shadow crosses into your valley, Juno's divine shield erupts. A blinding, deafening wave of blue celestial light blooms across the meadow, violently throwing the Greek god of war backwards into the dirt. He punches the ground in absolute useless frustration because your deep respect for boundaries and your hospitality to the Roman pantheon. Juno and Mars have locked this valley down. Ares is completely toothless here. He can scream, curse, nerf his Buddha rivalry all day long. He cannot touch a single thread of your dull gray tent. Inside, the heavy bass of your synthwave music effortlessly drowns out the instant thud. In the tantrum, you take another bite of your crackers, completely at peace, totally unaware that the sheer moral decency just defeated the Greek god of war all over again from thousands of miles away. Alright, we're going to pick up on part 3, guys, in the next one. But thank you guys for watching, and have a good night, everybody. Bye.